Hey everyone, Maury Curtis Dunbar here. I feel like I have food on my face today. Welcome back to Painted Studio on this wonderful Thursday afternoon. So today we are going to be working on this cool Martha Washington style sewing box back here, but I have to grab over. We're in an awkward position today due to the fact that I have another piece of furniture on another situation in another area. So I have to kind of juggle a little bit. So I'm going to open this up so that I can see comments and questions as they come in. And that way I'm working on all cylinders here. Okay, so this Martha Stewart is in my head somewhere today. This Martha Washington style sewing box table, I showed it to you the other day. We took the hinges off of it. I have sanded and tested and done all kinds of things for adhesion, and we're good to go right over the paint. This is where I whacked it with something that has nothing to do with anything else. And the next thing we're going to do is, you can see I have some charcoal gray set coat already applied on here. But the next thing we're going to do is, this is gravel gray, sorry. Gravel gray set coat has been applied here. And what's actually going to go over these gravel gray areas is going to be metallic navy set coat. And then what's going here is charcoal set coat. And we're going to be doing some other kind of interesting finishes and stuff on those areas. I could paint the whole thing a charcoal gray, but really I need to differentiate the areas that I want to put the navy onto, and this is the way it works best for me. So I'm dipping into my charcoal gray set coat, and we're going to start painting other areas. There's going to be a lot of foiling and texture making on here, so I need to get all of the areas ready for that. Now, like I said, we're going to be moving around this a little peculiarly during this live because, my big table in the back, it has another piece of furniture. It has that big chest on it, and since that chest is not a commission piece, it gets my spare time, which I haven't had a lot of lately. So, we're going to work this a little bit this way, and then tomorrow, when I have a nice strong set of hands in here, we're going to move that big chest off of the dolly back there, and I'll be able to get a better angle to work at this than putting this here in front of small cameras and shelves and everything being all tightly done together. That's not the easiest way for me to work. And I'll flip it upside down and get the legs. I'm not doing that today because I can't bend that far over and get anything done. You see who popped in? Oh, gosh, I can't get this thing to ever work the way I need it to. Well, I see bodies there, but I may not be able to see who's popped in, so whoever's there, welcome aboard. Let's get in here. I'm definitely working at odd angles, so this is going to look very, very awkward as I do this today. I'm sorry, forgive me for that. And my lines don't necessarily have to be perfect here because there's going to be foil and texture over all of this. So any goofs I make on my first pass, other than if I let giant dribbles happen, will be corrected. And if I'm dumb enough to let a giant dribble happen, then I deserve the work that it's going to take to remove it. This is definitely not the glamorous part of doing stuff like this, but it is absolutely the necessary part. I did all the sanding and cleaning and the adhesion tests earlier, so I know that we're good to go with that. I'm using a smaller brush to get these cross support areas. This is an inset panel, this is the frame. So I painted the inset panel light gray, and we're going to get into that with navy blues shortly. And I know somebody's going to say, why didn't I just put the navy on to begin with? Well, this was white and very pale tan. And when you paint a dark color over a really light one, you're apt to get a lot of color showing through, a lot of white showing through. And I really, really don't want that to happen. Now, if I rethink this thing later, I could do navy over this and keep all of these light and silver, but really that's not what I want to do. My client has a very specific request on how she wants this to look, and I am respecting that. Okay, so we're going to take these little door pieces that I have here on the desk. I'm going to angle the cameras down so that you can see them. Let me check my angle so that I can see if you can see them. And yes, you can. There's a little lag for me to see it. So these were painted the light gray underneath. They're going to be painted the dark gray on tops and the sides. And the insides here of the wells on the sides of the sewing table have been painted 2 coats of gravel gray, just like this, so that when they open this up and use those side wells, they can actually see in there, which has been an issue. They were almost black inside. Not a very useful look. Let's get this painted, and then I'm going to get the sides. Again, this is just the first coat. So there'll be 1 coat of what I do with gravel gray, like this, like the light color here. And then I'll put a coat of navy on that before we finish our live today. I'll come back and do the rest of the charcoal gray tomorrow. Or I'll do a second coat, I should say, of it tomorrow, because everything's just going to be too wet for me to do more tonight. And I have other stuff to work on tonight. It's going to be a long night here at Painted Studio. I have plenty of work to do today. And somehow I never seem to get a chance to show you how I do furniture itself. We're always working on small projects, which I love. But we have a whole bunch of furniture sitting in here that I'm trying to get done, including this piece for a client. So you get to see me doing a lot of furniture right now. Okay, let's get this on here. Now I can take a door and stuff like this, even at this weird angle that I'm sitting at. Normally I can take this stuff and sort of toss it like a pizza. All right, so we're going to let those dry. And let me see how I'm going to turn this. It should be dry enough for me to turn this table. So give me a chance to angle up. Make sure you can see what I'm doing. Sorry for my thumb in front of the camera. Get a little higher. There we go. So we're going to take this, and because I've taken the drawers out and done that already, this is actually very light now. It wasn't before. It was quite heavy. All right, so I'm going to take this. We're going to do this part. I like to leave, if I'm not turning it over and doing the bottom right away, I like to leave the feet until I can actually do what I need to do, like turn it upside down. Let me get this placed here. I'm literally placing this on 4-gallon containers of paint, so you can see what I'm doing. This is one of my more how would I want to jerry-rigged ways of doing this. Now, I have done this before I had the furniture turntable, before I had movable wheels, before I had furniture movers. This is how I painted a lot of furniture. I put it on cans and lifted it up. And then when I'd flip it over, and here's the thing with flipping over a piece like this, especially if it has fresh paint, you'd want to flip it over on top of something soft. You want like a piece of t-shirt or a nice silky old pillowcase or something like that, because that will protect this fresh paint. If you put it on a hard, smooth surface, believe it or not, that will actually scrape it. So if you put it on top of something soft, on a hard surface, if you have to shift it around, that piece of fabric moves with it and protects your paint. Now this is very fresh. I painted this like 2 hours ago, so honestly, I wouldn't even want to turn it over until tomorrow, until it's had enough time to get a good 8 hours of dry time on here. Let's get this side. And again, like I said, I am getting what I'm calling base colors laid out on this. These are going to be the undercolors, and this is the undercolor actually for the navy, so there will be more painting that happens during this live to get everything in its proper colors. I'll probably have to put another coat of navy on here before I'm even ready to do the foiling. So it will probably be 2 coats of navy, but I'm taking that white down on here because the navy, being a metallic navy, is more translucent and likely to have show-through spots. Metallics, that's just the sort of the nature of some of the metallics. Now, why am I not using a Roberson's metallic on here? Because I'm not making this a metallic piece of furniture. I'm using Faux Effects Set Coat, which is super hard, super high bonding, to put underneath a foiled surface. Sorry, folks, you don't get to see this. I have to come back in here, get this side, and I really need to go over on the other side with my other chair and paint this part that I skipped because it's on the wrong side of me. So I'm painting a super high bonding, excellent leveling property color underneath everything so that when we apply the foil, and everybody who's ever done foils knows that you get micro breaks in it. So I need the right color underneath everything so that when you get the micro breaks in your foil, the right color shows through and it looks complete versus looking half done. All right, let me swing over to the other side. Sorry for the waddling over. I'm trying to not step on anything, not knock anything over. I've always been a little bit of a bull in a china shop. Yes, all those years of dancing lessons. I never took ballet, but I was raised to take dancing lessons so that I could be socially graceful. Well, My sister got all those dancing graceful jeans, not me. So I tend to bump into things and knock them over. When I was a kid, my mother was nervous literally taking me into a china shop. I used to stand really, really still and get my bearings with me so that I wouldn't knock things over, because I'm really good at that. Okay, so we're going to put this brush in our water over here. Grab my my charcoal, and see if anybody's got any questions. Hey, Maddie. Hi, Jill. And Marie and Desiree. Nice to see you all here. Don't forget I can't see what that says. Oh, don't forget to give love. You're so sweet. Thank you, everybody. So I'm going to close that up. And again, you see these jars? These are not the jars that Faux Effects products come in. I pour them off for myself in my studio, and this is going to become more important. Faux Effects is starting to discontinue quart jars in basic colors. So pouring things off into smaller containers to have your products more airtight, less chance of spoilage, last longer for you is a very important thing to be able to do. So we're going to start with our top here, applying a coat of navy. I love this color. This metallic navy is stunning. Such a beautiful color. And as you can see, I'm getting far less show through because I've put a gray color underneath. This is why when you paint like red paints, the paint stores will tell you put a gray primer underneath it. It's because if you put these deep tone colors over a bright white base, the base for the paint is kind of sheer to get that deep tone, and what happens is the light comes through and it reflects off the white and it looks terrible. So your finish looks streaky and uneven, but if you put a gray underneath, it absorbs that light, and you get a much, much more uniform coloration. Now, I will tell you, everybody's gray primers too, a little different. I got a gray primer for a red wall once that was really dark, and I thought, this is very strange. Thank God the client loved it, because it almost made the red like a magenta color. It reflected like no light back. It was very peculiar. But the client loved it. I'm like, oh, thank God. Please don't make me have to paint this over. So what do you all listen to while you paint? I'm knocking things over. Sorry about that. Shift everything a little bit if I can, just so I can move my chair and not move. I would get down and sit on the floor and paint this, but you all don't want to see me trying to get back up. Quite frankly, that would be some of the scariest things. My knees have a mind of their own, and I will look like a beached seal if I try to do this in front of a camera. It's not the most attractive thing to show somebody. So you're just going to have to suffer with me shifting around in my chair and then going to the other side and shifting around on that side with my chair. The nice thing though is being a little bit ambidextrous, I can come in and easily switch hands to paint where it would be really awkward for me to be left-handed trying to get into some of these spaces. The tray that we poured the epoxy in yesterday, I cannot show it to you right now because, as I suspected, it needed more epoxy today. And it is literally across the room from me, curing up right now. And if I move it, I will screw it up. Doesn't matter what I say, what I do, how careful I am. It is in mid-cure, so if I move it right now, I will completely screw it up. So you're going to have to wait until tomorrow for me to show that to you. And I will happily do that tomorrow. Now, if you notice, I'm not painting into here. The reason is that I don't want to affect how the drawers slide in and out. If I need to paint in here, after I've gotten the drawers foiled, after I've gotten the rest of this done, I will come in with some gray and probably only go in a little bit of the way. I have found, and really found the hard way, that if you overpaint stuff, what happens is you build up a thickness on the drawers. They don't slide in and out. Somebody already came in here with a primer and did that once. I know very well if I get too crazy with this, especially with fresh paint, I can get all my drawers stuck in here forever. And you have to whack on it to loosen the paint, and then the paint chips off right here, and the paint chips off right here. So I'm really, really careful about painting into here and painting in these areas. Usually I don't do that. Now I will, if the drawer is loose fitting, which it is enough in here, I will paint the top lip of the drawer. But if it's a really, really tight fit, I will sand the top of the drawer so that there's no paint on it and just put a little bit of wax on it so it slides in and out and doesn't stick. All right, I'm going to slide over to the other side. And we're going to get this side done. And I'm sorry I'm not checking on your questions as much, but as you can see, my iPad with the questions is back here. And I'm not very graceful, so all you usually get is a big view of my butt while I'm trying to see what the questions are. All right, let me get in here. Okay. Let's get on this. I know people regularly ask me how I can paint in a seam like that without taping it off. I just sort of let the brush grab the crease. Now, if I've got a rough edge, or if I'm having a bad day where my hands are shaking, I stop in the middle of it immediately, fix it up, let it go, do it another way. But again, it's also not vital because this is all going to be covered up with foil. My goal is to get a nice, smooth, even coating on here so it's all looking good and locked down tight. Now I have right here, there is a chip here. This is a replica piece. This edge has been banged in a couple times. So instead of me trying to fix that, which would end up for me being not the best idea since I'm not a woodworker, we're going to take a little medallion of some sort. I have wonderful pieces from Wood You Bend. Piece of hair in there. There we go. Would You Bend is a line I'm considering carrying, but I have not carried yet. But I have good friends who do carry it, and I'm considering bringing it in. And they have cool things. Darn piece of hair, and I got to get it out of there because it will show all the way through. There we go. The foil and the foil adhesive, it always does. I get one piece of hair on something, and when I do adhesive, I really need to be good about pulling my hair back because I seem to shed like a collie on stuff. My mother bred Clumber Spaniels, and they shed like crazy. We used to have big, light tumbleweeds of dog fur rolling through her house. When I was a kid growing up, she bred bulldogs, but after I moved out and went to college, she bred a breed called Clumber Spaniels, and they're like 80-pound spaniel water dogs, and they shed like crazy. So back to what I was saying is the reason I wanted it perfectly smooth is that you don't want things like hair and dribbles and stuff like that showing up because it will show all the way through the metallics of the foil and make it worse. This area, I'm not, like I said, I'm not going to fix it. So I've got little things from Would You Bend, which I will reach over and grab over here. This is too big, I think, because that's a small one, but Would You Bend makes all these wonderful things. They're castings, and when you heat them up with a hairdryer, you can bend them to fit an area. I have some smaller ones that I'm going to put a piece of right here. She loved that idea as like a little hidden treasure right there to hide that broken spot. We discussed all of that, and I do always discuss that sort of thing with my customer before I do it because it might be completely not what she wanted to have happen, and I have to respect that. All right, let me turn this around again. Sorry for the flash of my behind. Go. Got it on there stably. You were just getting all of me in front of the camera today. Let's see what we got here. Hey Donna, nice to see you here, and Chloe. And Maddie, thank you for the sprinkles. I appreciate all the sprinkles I can get. It helps us grow. It helps our community grow. Gives me an opportunity to show new and cool things to all kinds of people. Now, you noticed I was able to stick my fingers up under here. That's because I haven't painted underneath this. So when I turn it upside down tomorrow to get the feet, I will also turn it and get up under here. And I'm not worried if I get a little dribble or anything in the inside of this right now. That's all going to be fixed later on. Let's get in here. So what I was saying, oh, that was nice. I just put a big smudge of blue there. Thank God everything's getting fixed. See, and if I had left this the white that it was, this would have been so much streakier. You noticed I just did a cross stroke. That was to fill in along this edge, and then I pull the paint up so all of my brush strokes go in the same direction as the wood grain. Okay, first coat on, everything's smooth. I know I haven't gotten completely into every corner. I do that on the second coat. I grab a smaller brush. Where's my small brush? I usually take something about like that or a little smaller, go in and get all of those tiny corners, and this gets a much, much tidier pass on the second coat. First coat is like, as long as everything's neat, it's clean, it's not going to leave weird streaky marks, and it's not going to leave weird bubbles. It's all leveled out. The tiny details like the corner is something I handle on the second coat. All right, I'm going to move this camera around a little bit to where I am here. And I think you can see me. Let me check. Yep, you can see me. All right, I have the drawers. So as you can see, I've painted the inside of these drawers with one coat of gravel gray. They will get a second coat after I took them apart and inspected them. They were just so messy with so many different things that had been sprayed that I wanted to make sure I clean them up on the inside. So then I'm doing a coat of metallic navy on the front of all of the drawers like I did on the panel in the back. I will take care of the top edge and the inside after I've done the front. And there's a very simple reason. It's not just, I prefer to do these last for no reason. What this does, it allows me to work on this area, and then I come in and anything that might have spilled, I can still clean it up. I haven't done a perfect job in here, and that's my cleanup in theirs after that. But right now it's all sealed up nice and neatly. It'll be a great final look. Now again, we talked about this drawer that's cracked, and yes, I have sealed, ooh, I sprayed it with something too. I have sealed it with the gravel gray set coat, but I'm still considering putting at least a paper liner of some sort in these drawers because this is water damage. This is cracking from moisture, and I want to do something to reinforce it. I cannot put a bracket in here because the screws will come through. It's not meant to work that way. So I will probably line the drawer with paper, either flocked drawer liner paper like a jewelry drawer, or I will take some of the handmade papers that I keep in a file over on the other side of the studio, and I will do it with that. Depends on what I see when I'm finished, what my finished product here ends up looking like. See, this is what happens. I bump things and I take the paint off. And then I will figure out exactly what I'm putting inside the drawer. The liners of the drawers are always like the last thing I do because I've worked really hard on the outside and I don't know what I'll need for the inside of the drawers to look like until the entire piece is finished. Now, I know a lot of people like to paint the sides, put patterns on here. I don't do that. Very specific reason. It's the same reason I told you I don't like to paint inside the drawer openings. It can interfere with how the drawers function. If they're really loose and they just sort of sit in there, yeah, I can do that on the sides. I might take, a roller, roll a little pattern over it and stuff. Or if the drawers have been painted and are really mangled, I'll sand them down and put a fresh coat of paint on them. But generally, I really don't. Even if I've got this little bit of overspray from stuff, I really do not do that because I will not want to be the reason that they can't open the drawers. And a a lot of those very pretty pieces that I've seen that way, that has been the situation. Oh God, I have seen the need to correct that more than once. And a little wipe down with some beeswax just isn't enough to fix that kind of thing. The paint, and the other thing that happens is acrylic paints require 30 days to cure. Well, somebody paints them, puts the drawers in 2 days later, it's painted on the outside, it's painted on the rails and everything, and then nobody opens the drawers again for a couple days. That paint is welding to itself. And that's part of the reason why it grabs and it chips. I know this from personal experience. Fortunately, on only my own pieces of furniture when I was starting out my furniture painting career many years ago. And that's what taught me not to do it. I still have pieces of furniture at home because the fit on them was so tight that they don't want to open and close easily, and I literally have to whack them with my hand to loosen them so I can open them up. And I don't believe in sending furniture like that out with my clients. All right, everybody. That is our live today. I know it wasn't terribly glamorous, but it is what needed to happen on this piece. I will be back with it tomorrow. It will have all its stuff on there, and we're going to start foiling. I think tomorrow should be able to be a foiling day unless we have dry time issues. All right, have a wonderful afternoon. I'm going to try not to be here all night tonight, and I will see you tomorrow. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.